Hey guys, Battle Crush just got released, and we've got a lot of old returning players coming into the game. But we also got a lot of new faces, a lot of new players coming in, and I expect we'll see a lot more new players. So I wanted to put out a video that just really quick, the day of, to kind of give y'all a bit of a head start for those that are interested in like leaderboard placement or just getting better at the game. This video will kind of give y'all some tips and tricks to start applying very early on. None of it's too in-depth, none of it's character specific. Every character can apply this, every player can apply this. I recommend that even if you're an older player returning, you go ahead and like at least skim through, because it'll be nice to have like a little reminder. For those that don't know, my name is Fwop. I go by Palf in game. I ended up rank 3 on the leaderboard in the previous test, and I've got about 100 hours in the game. So I've gone through the motions. I understand a lot of the in-depth stuff, and I plan on helping the community like figure this stuff out through my streams, through YouTube maybe. So that's kind of a little bit about me, but I don't want to like drag on too long. So we're just gonna go ahead and go into the first tip. Our first tip is gonna be the duels game mode. I really recommend y'all play it. When you first start Battle Crush, it can be rough, especially if you don't know like what everybody does, or if you're just trying to learn like characters, items, the map. Like there's a lot to take in. So that's why I recommend duels. They're fast, they let you get in like a couple games, a couple fights, and they can very quickly let you figure out what your character does, what the enemy character does, how you're supposed to play it. And they're just really good practice for starting out. I really recommend it. It's what I did at the start. Whenever I picked the game up in beta, I queued up duels. I went in and I did like a couple hours of duels. You guys don't have to do hours of duels, by the way. I just did it because I really wanted to learn my character. But I do recommend you, at the very least, if you're picking up a character or if you're just picking up the game and you want to get comfortable, I do recommend you stop by the duels game mode and give it a try, because it does really help. It also lets you just kind of focus on yourself. If you try to do it in the battle royale game mode, you end up like being focused on like, oh, the map, rotations, third parties. You got your teammates, like team comp. There's a lot of stuff in BR that can like kind of clutter what you need and what you're trying to learn. And it just doesn't. It's a lot. So I do recommend you try out duels, even if you just do it for like the first time you play the character. It will help you in the long run. The second tip is actually gonna be about your landing spot. When you're loading in and like when you see the map and you're deciding where to land, first of all, I do recommend that you land together with your team. Don't try to split apart. I know a lot of players do, and it's fine. But you do want to land just kind of close to your team, not right on top of each other, because then you guys won't be able to get like the loot that you need. But you do want to land close enough that if somebody takes a fight early, the team can come help out. Or if the player dies, you can grab their revive stone. But I also recommend that you avoid the relics. When you get comfortable on your character and you're thinking about like, I can take a 1v1, I can take a 1v2, I can like stall. When you get comfortable, then you can land on relics. But when you're starting out, I recommend you just land on like the little chests. They got like little like shield icons. That will give you a guaranteed item of that class. So generally, I like to land on the weapon ones, because the weapon is really important early game. It's where most of your damage is going to come from. It's where the weapon one is very important throughout the entire game, but especially early when everybody is no gear and you're fighting for scraps. Having a weapon early is way more beneficial for you than like a random helmet you pick up off the ground. So I do recommend you try to land on those shield chests, because they're not very contested. If you're confident in your 1v1s, or if you're playing a stronger dueling character early, like Lance, Hades, Hercules even, or like somebody that can get away if they're contested, then you can like try landing on maybe a gold chest or something. And those are very impactful and give you a lot of gear early. But those do tend to be contested and are good practice if you can land like when you're 1v1, but just be aware there is a bit of risk. I would only land on relics if your full team is going to try and contest it, or if you are playing a character that's very mobile, like Hermes, or Lance is pretty low mobile. Like you need some sort of safety, and you need to know that when you just need to bail, because staying too long will get you killed there. Third tip is that you just need to gear quick, and then you need to fight quick. Battle Crush, we very quickly figured out in the beta that the most effective way to get through the early game is to just snowball. You land on like a weapon chest, a gold chest, something like, you land somewhere that you can get some gear. and then you just start killing the people like right off rip. You like let them loot for you, and as long as you have a decent understanding of like your 1v1s or your team play, or like you're just outgeared them because a lot of people don't land on weapon chests, if you have an early weapon, or if you just have a lot of pots or, you know, something, like whatever the case is, if you fight early, you will get more gear and you will be able to just win. You'll just run over everybody. And it doesn't matter about if they get revived or not. The point is that you get kills and then you get the gear they had. You get a potion if they had it. You get like, you get all the stuff they had, and it lets you gear up very quickly if you're confident in it. And then you kind of just snowball the lobby because you're stronger. You're probably stronger than the next team that you fight. And then you kill that team, you take their gear, and then you just go all the way till the end game. You contest your relics, and you just become this like menace, like very early on. I do recommend that you try to gear as quick as you can and then fight as quick as you can. And even if you die, as long as one person on your team survives early, it is not uncommon for you to be able to like get a revive on your full team and have everybody back in. So I wouldn't worry about like dying. It's also just good practice. It's going to make you better as a player. But I do recommend that you gear quick, you fight quick, and if you really things do go wrong, then you either wipe or somebody gets out of the fight and grabs both the soul stones. You guys get picked up later, and you just play like rats for like a little bit until you get it off gear, and then you start fighting again. The fourth tip here is actually about the revive stones. Once you pick a revive stone up, a 90-second countdown begins. You can see it on the left side on their portrait. When that countdown ends and hits 0, that player will be respawned automatically. This can be really nice if you aren't capable of getting like a shrine res off, because shrines tend to be contested. People will like camp near them to make sure revives don't happen. So having that 90 seconds is nice. If you can wait that out, sometimes near the end game you kind of can't, but early and mid game it is entirely possible just to run and like very quickly get away. And then even if there is no shrine near you, you can in fact still have a revive happen. You also are faster when you hold your teammates' res stones. Enemy players can see this. You have like a little like green diamond above your HP bar. Maybe it's below it. But if they look at your HP bar, they can see you have like 1 res stone or 2 revive stones. And as long as you have those, you do get like a little bit of a move speed buff that kind of makes you hard to catch. So if somebody has that and you're having problems catching them or you can't cut them off, I generally just say let them go. It's generally not worth the time that like you're committing. Especially if it's like a Hermes or like a Freya or like a Lance or something that's just gonna like permanently run. Just bail. Just get out and go to the next team. The 5th tip is about knowing when to bail. Third parties are pretty common. Like third parties are gonna happen to you a lot. You know, a lot of players will just interrupt fights for fun. They'll just like start throwing projectiles just because if they get a kill, they get a kill, you know, and a lot of time they're safe from it. And sometimes like random players will just show up. Like you'll have some guy randomly luck scroll into the middle of your fight and you're like, oh, okay. And sure, he might be by himself, but if he's got like an ult or something and he pops it, it can change the course of the fight. So learning when you just need to like leave the fight is a really important skill to have. Or you don't even have to leave the fight entirely. Sometimes just leaving and letting your team regroup with you. You know, like grabbing your team, like letting you guys reset and then take the fight again. Like that will help you a lot. You just need to have like a little bit of like discipline and be like, okay, I need to know when the fight's starting to get a little like sketchy and like when there's too much happening. Speaking about resetting, we'll talk about items for the 6th tip. There's a lot of items in Battle Crush. You've got like health potions, you've got barrier potions, invisibility scrolls, luck scrolls, jump pads, morph stones. Like there's a lot. There are a couple of different things and it can be easy to forget about them, but they are very important. I generally am almost always running health potions, barrier potions, and a flash scroll, if not 2. That's just my ideal setup. I use the health potions as like health potions, obviously, but I use the barrier potions as like I just pop them on cooldown because they permanently stack, and you can use them mid-fight for like a team-wide heal, which can really help like bail your teammates out of situations and stuff if they get caught out. And then the flash scroll lets you do like a lot of like interesting stuff. You can use it to get away, you can use it to engage, you can use it to chase down, you can use it to get over walls. There's a lot of like things you can use the flash scroll for. So I just recommend you pick up everything, or if you have free spots at the start, like or in the middle of the game, whatever, if you have a free spot open, just pick something up. And even if you don't use it, having the extra option is nice. I do really recommend you stock up on barrier potions and health potions every game. Those are like the 2 that I think every player should have. Other than that, your third can be really whatever you want. Like flash scrolls are good for engage, disengage, traversal. Jump pads are very good for engage and like disengage. They're pretty much the same thing as flash scrolls, but like a little bit less. And then like invisibility scrolls can be used to set up ambushes or to wait out a team if you're waiting for two teams to fight. Like morph scrolls or morph stones, I think they're called. They're very good for in game because they count as like an extra life, like sort of like if you die or if you get like not if you get groggy while you're in it, you just like full HP. It's very, very nice. So I do recommend you play around with the item system and you get used to it. And for our 7th tip, and about aerial gameplay, about specifically staying in the air. A lot of players try to land as soon as they get it. Like as soon as they're in the air, they try to land, and it ends up killing them a lot. I get when the island is like one little tile and there's like 5, 6, sometimes 7, 8, maybe 9 people on there at times. It can be kind of hard and a little scary. Like you want to land back on the island, but you need to like wait. If you try to rush, you're just going to get ledge guarded. You need to really use your double jumps. You need to use your aerials. You need to use your ult. All of that is really important. And it all starts with like being knocked off the ledge or sometimes even going off the ledge like willingly. You don't have to get knocked off. Sometimes it's better to just walk off the edge so you can play in the air. It can be a little rough and you'll probably end up dying a lot whenever you're like first starting because you're not used to like your stamina cost and like you're not used to like mixing people up. Like, but knowing when you need to be in the air versus on the island is really, really important. And I would say just use it, just play around with it. The idea is that you don't want to land unless you see they make a mistake. Like you don't want to land unless the dandy has used their like heavy attack, or you don't want to land if like somebody's like has ult up. Like you don't want to land next to the Hades with the ult, like right? Like you need to bait that out before you land. Otherwise you're just going to die. This is more of a combat tip for our 8th one. Your light attack combos, a lot of people just kind of spam it and it's not necessarily bad, but the way Battle Crush's light attack combos are made and like designed, they're very fighting game-ish. Like if you played fighting games, you probably are familiar with like how some attacks are like riskier than others. And I don't know the terms because I don't play, but you are probably familiar with like, oh, this like has like startup frames and like stuff like that. And like some attacks just aren't safe. And there is that sort of aspect in Battle Crush's like combat as well, where like a lot of the attack combos, like your first light attack and your second light attack, or maybe even your third, are pretty safe. You can kind of just throw without being too worried. But then like the 4th or the 5th one will be like really dangerous. However, those also tend to be like that 4th and 5th hit will tend to be like your most powerful part of the combo. So it's like a risk reward system of like, do I take this chance to throw this like dangerous move that is like, if I hit it is really good, but I'm left open? Or do I just like whittle down with like my first auto attack and first through 3 couple attacks, right? I would say generally only go for 1 to 3 unless you have like a teammate also stunning, or if you can guarantee you're going to hit your big light attack. But these are just like things you need to be aware of, because I've seen a lot of players try to just like left click their way through and it ends up getting them killed because they're not aware that like I, as a player, like I'm waiting for you to use that big like end combo finisher, because that leaves you open for me to hit. And just knowing those, like you don't have to know everybody's, but as you play against characters and you learn, you'll start to pick up and you'll realize when you have like opportunities to attack. You know, you'll realize like, oh, okay, this character, their first 3 like attacks are like really fast, but their like 4th one is like pretty slow, right? And it leaves them open afterwards. You want to go in after they use their 4th one, or you want to bait the 4th one, right? And dodge and then go in, right? There's a lot of like mind games with it that I do recommend you try to learn. Another little combat tip here for the 9th one is about your ults. All the ults in the game grant some duration of super armor. Super armor is basically just like complete invulnerability. You can't take knockback and you don't take damage. Generally, these don't last very long, but they are very, very impactful. There's sort of this like ultimate second gameplay that we found out in the betas, where if you ult first, a lot of times you would lose because ults are just very impactful. So I do recommend that you try to ult second if possible. If they don't have their ult and you just saw them waste it or something, then you can go ahead and ult, right? Just be aware that that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hit. But a lot of the time, if you ult after somebody ults, you will hit yours. Like, it is almost guaranteed. So I do recommend you just try to like get in the habit of ulting second. It's almost always going to be better. because you get super armor through their ult, so you don't take any damage or any effects that they put on you, and they're locked in an animation, so they have less time to like dodge out of your ult. For our last tip, you always want to be dodging wherever you're going, whether you're just traversing the map, whether you're chasing somebody down, running from someone, it doesn't really matter. You want to be using your dash as quickly and as often as possible. It's going to be faster for you to get around, to gear up, to find players, avoid players, catch up to players. It doesn't really matter what you're using it for, it's just faster than moving around. And the less time you spend waiting around, the more time you'll be gearing up, you'll be getting gear, you'll be able to contest relics, get into better spots late game. There's just no real reason to be waiting. Generally, positioning doesn't play a lot. There's not really like anything you gain from playing like a position, just due to the way the game is. So I recommend that you are always just be moving, and when you are moving, try to like just dodge everywhere. If your character doesn't have a dodge, I recommend you just try to keep up. That you can't really do anything about it. Like if you're playing like Urus or Ares and you don't have a dodge, you can use your movement ability, but you're not going to keep up. At that point, you need to like talk to your team and like let them know you can't keep up. And if they don't like stop, I mean, oh well. Just do what you can. It kind of sucks that those characters don't have a dodge. They don't have one for like balance purposes, and you just have to like play around it and hope that your team plays around it.
Hey guys, I'm Vlad or Vladalina. You'll probably see me in the ladder or in any of your games. I'm going to be playing like every single day for Battle Crush, and I love the game. Thanks for checking out this Fwop Dwop video. If you want to check out another one, you can click right here. If you want to check out even more than that, you can click his channel. It'll be right here. And he likes to stream a lot, so he's probably streaming right now. You can check that out in the infographic right in the corner. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in game.